it as a reference at this point.
Oh god, that's so loud in my headphones.
Yeah, that's mega boomer stuff now, dude.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta spit out. Hold on.
Despite the fact that I'm older than you, and maybe I don't know if I'm older than Michael or not, but I'm definitely
Michael and I are the same age.
Okay, so despite the fact that I'm older than both of you, I'm definitely the one that's in touch with the youths. So I'm definitely going to say,
you know all the sussy stuff.
Yeah, I know about Skibbity and Riz, so that definitely means that I'm the one in touch with everything.
Well, when you can figure out what the meaning of Sigma is, because it seems to change every week, you let me know.
The answer is that there's no answer. It's a feeling you have to have in your heart.
Well, it also it was alpha, but now alpha is sigma, and sigma used to be cool, but maybe it's not cool. I don't know, man.
Andy, did you change your settings?
So here's the dealio. I am one nasally because I have some sort of congestion that has started.
Yeah, I can hear that.
I don't know why or when it happened, but it started maybe 10 minutes before we were going to podcast. So that's fun and exciting. And great podcasting is to just show up with a fully stuffed nose.
As it happens.
For no reason at all. And then number two is I'm on my iPhone.
Okay, that's what I'm hearing.
So in true boomer fashion, we'll do it live.
Welcome to We Were Gamers episode 406. I'm JJ, and we're doing it live, which is a joke that I'm sure all the young kids out there get from a person who hasn't been on TV in more than a decade.
It's hardly a joke, even.
Yeah. That's Andy. He's back from assignment. Hello.
I am, and we are testing the listeners' patience with using Discord mobile and listening to someone who has a stuffy nose but doesn't feel sick. So, go figure.
We probably could have just said Andy was still out on assignment, and that would have explained it.
I mean, it's like he's out on assignment. It's just he's still here despite being out.
I'm assigned to a different room where I use my phone.
Well, we're glad to have you anyway because there's stuff to talk about this week. So I think
I'm going to live react to this podcast.
Live during the podcast.
Your reactions cannot get liver than this.
Live to tape.
Live Blake Livelier.
Do the youth know who that is? I don't know.
I'm going to keep trying for every reference I can make that no one understands.
Cool.
Also, who under 20 is listening to this anyway?
Fair.
Good question. If you are under 20, email us at podcast@weweregamers.com.
Yes, so email is the thing that's required by your school for using and making accounts. You can log into a part of that address and use it to communicate with people via basically digital letters.
Like they know what letters are. Come on, man.
God, so sussy, all this.
Whoa. I don't know. Let's not get into stuff we don't want to take back. Hey, it's good to see both you guys. How you guys doing?
How many times?
Sounds like we're melting under the heat a little bit, JJ. But other than that,
yeah, it has been a hot one these past few weeks, and I'm just going to start off. Coming up, it will be the 4th of July holiday here in the United States of America.
Yep. Michael, did you send the quote to him as well? Because I had to tell everyone.
I think I did.
Regarding our fingers?
Yes. Yeah, I sent that to the both of you at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, just so you know, you can close the Discord app and still be on. Just so everybody knows.
Oh, one would hope. Technology doing things.
I don't know. It was worth an experiment while we were starting the podcast.
You said something about fingers, but no one else listening to the podcast is going to understand that. So now you have to explain what you're talking about.
What was the quote? It was,
this week is the... There are people in the United States who don't know that this is the last weekend that they will spend with 10 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dangerous fireworks, kids.
I will not be personally shooting off any, though. I think we'll be watching the professionals do it a little bit.
They are illegal in the city in which I reside.
And they are illegal in mine. And yet,
and
every 4th of July around the neighborhood.
Yeah, so, I'm looking to go get some trazodone for the dog already.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Big shout outs to folks out there with pets. This is a rough weekend for you, for sure.
You have all of our sympathies.
And doubly so because it happens on a weekday. That means the various fireworks shows are going to be spread out through gosh knows when and whichever days.
Yeah, it'll be at least 4 days, right? Because there are some that do it on the 3rd because it's the day before, and then the 4th is on a Thursday, and then there'll be a Friday, and then Saturday because it's the weekend. So yeah, we're going to get 4 days.
Yep. Yeah, not super excited about that. But there are some things I am excited about for the 4th of July, which I don't know if you guys also have a grand tradition of trying to get together with some family members or some folks and do some barbecuing.
Ours shift. I'm sorry, Michael. I was just gonna say ours shifts around kind of every year depending on who's around, who's available, what people are doing. So sometimes it's neighbors, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's it's just sort of will of the moment.
What about you guys, Michael? Try and get something at least. Is the constant the barbecue at least?
Yeah, something barbecued, something grilled. It's a grand and glorious tradition that needs to be upheld.
Something silver, something.
No. I was gonna say, no gods, no kings, but I'm not sure if that's true anymore in this country. So, gosh.
That's all we're going to say about that.
That is all we're going to say about that. But on the 4th of July bent, I was proposed a question, and I had an answer this week, and I wanted to see if you guys also have an answer. Do you have a preferred hot dog brand? Is this something that you think about ever, other than this is a hot dog?
Is it required to be defined as a hot dog and cannot be a bratwurst, knockwurst, any sort of other type of sausage?
The question was posed to me as hot dog brand. I'll let you choose to reinterpret the question if you want, but I had an answer for that question.
Hot dog brand.
I mean, I think it's fair to just say like hot dog is hot dog, and you don't think about it too hard.
Okay. I really like the Boar's Head ones quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan's also.
The one that can't. Oh, go
anything
ahead.
that has an all beef frank generally is my go-to.
Yeah. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, Andy stole both of my answers.
Okay. So that's interesting because the one that always came to mind to me is Hebrew National.
Oh yeah, pretty good.
Yep.
A little bit smaller than the other two though, but famous for being the Dodger dog brand.
Yes, and also kosher, which is not something you might expect of a hot dog.
Yeah,
true. I think Nathan's makes a kosher one, but Hebrew Nationals are the ones that I buy when going to kosher events. So I guess I like those as well.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I don't have a dislike of the other ones. I will absolutely house a Nathan's or any other brand. To be frank with you, Ballpark, whatever you got.
Oh. He said it, Michael.
Snuck it in there.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. But if someone came to me and like, what's your brand of hot dog? I would probably say Hebrew National.
I think that's the thing is it's got to be an all beef frank, and it's got to be called a all beef frank, and so you end up with a variety of even Nathan's that are not.
Right.
I think a Nathan's is a little bit plumper than a Hebrew National, but I think it's safer to buy a Hebrew National than a Nathan's now that I think about it. And then there's the Boar's Head ones, which are just quality, high end.
Yeah.
But they're more like a knockwurst, which is why I asked.
Right. And like, if we're going to expand this into the world of, rolled meat things, I think I'm not even going to include hot dog on the list. Like it's like 57th in the list of ones that I want.
Sure.
Okay. Just getting people in the mood for the 4th of July stuff. I thought that was a question that was asked about me today. And I was like, oh yeah, Hebrew National. People were like, wow, you had that very quickly.
Well,
don't mess around.
I think that's the one that you'd find the quickest at this time of year. Also, by the way, after particular holidays, you'll find Hebrew Nationals on deep discount, just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
Stock up.
Yeah, you can stock up afterwards, get them for $1 a pack.
Yeah, I'm not usually eating hot dogs that frequently, but it is nice that they are not expensive, and you're always going to have leftover buns because that's how it works, right?
Well, JJ, you lack the social circle of younger people that might invite over friends that will stuff 20 hot dogs.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
That is a concern for
this
the
summer when the kids are like, let's have a friend over, and then it ends up being 15. I'm stocked. I got Hebrews. They're kosher. I don't have to worry about who came.
Loaded with hot dogs for the family.
And they were $1 a pack, and they're frozen. Done.
Well, it's not frozen out there. It is hot, as we previously mentioned. The Steam summer sale is in full swing, folks.
Heck yeah.
Speaking of hot deals.
Hot deals, yeah.
Yo.
What's up?
Did you guys buy? I haven't bought stuff at sales in a long time.
Yeah. I bought something from the last sale, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but I haven't bought anything from this one yet.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Michael. I haven't bought anything from this sale yet. I don't know that I necessarily will.
I don't know what's up
just because the stuff that I want is not going on sale yet.
Oh, interesting. I was going to say, I don't know what's up with this sale, but it seems like most of my wish list this time around, which the last couple, oh God, I sound terrible. I can hear it. I should turn my headphones off of, what is that? Noise canceling. Maybe it'll be better. Anyway, most of my wish list this time around is on sale, including Square Enix, who often ignores these time of years. They do their sale off season or whatever.
Yeah, a couple of weeks before or after.
Yeah, even they're doing deep discounts right now. And then I noticed like most of my games that were under $15 or whatever are hitting like 80, 90% off. I think Celeste is down to like $1.20.
I was going to say that there was some new stuff added in this sale that I think is cool if people are visiting the Steam homepage, which, like, why would you do that technically? But it is interesting to see that they are now highlighting games with steep discounts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's like a specific, I don't know what you call these things, carousel or whatever on the store that is visible to people who go on there.
That's a really good word for it.
80, 90%. I forget what the threshold is, but like once you hit a certain high percentage off, you get to appear specially in this thing.
That's a good idea. So
yeah, the problem with it is the thing that they can do to manipulate that I don't like, which people definitely are doing, and that sucks because they can manipulate the base price to then make it look like the sale price is 90% off, right?
Right, without actually losing money.
It's like, oh, this game, it sells for $40 normally. Well, we jacked the base price up to 80, so now it looks like it's 80% off, even though it's the normal sale price, right?
Yeah, okay. I think you would catch that as a wise consumer that we tend to tell people to be. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, like, look at the game and then look at, like, hey, what kind of game is this? Is this a game that was selling for like $70 Take a look at the base price before the sale and decide if you think that this is actually a good sale or not.
So I had an operating theory, and I don't know that I've sussed out it entirely, but I think it's true that a lot of the things that were on Game Pass that are now off Game Pass are the ones that I am seeing that are the most discounted.
Interesting.
So a lot of the things that I either finished while they were on Game Pass, like Celeste, or that I never quite finished, that I probably wouldn't go back and play unless it was steeply discounted, were on my wish list to see if that ever happened. And now maybe because they've gotten that Xbox money and their sales maybe are a little bit dipped because a lot of people played them on their incentive to keep their price higher or whatever might not be as high. So that's my theory about why maybe we're seeing so many things this go around that like it was enough for me to be like, what is happening? And then like you mentioned, JJ, like right there on the front page, 90% off. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And there is there's also like an age related factor too. Obviously the older a game gets, the more incentivized they are to like hit the discounts hard because less people are paying attention to older games, right?
Sure.
So, it could be that by the time the game
2021 or whatever.
2010 or 12, right? Like not 21.
It's Celeste?
it's quite a bit older than that.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah. But it is definitely.
Are we that old?
Yeah. No, it can't be us. We're not wrong.
The children who are wrong.
Yes. But also, maybe the games that were on Game Pass for so long have now hit an age where it's like, okay, like,
all right, hold on. 2018. You guys calm down. 2011.
Right. But that's still, 6 years, right?
Pre-COVID, it's all the same.
Yeah. Anything before 2020 is basically the before times, right? It infinitely long ago. Well, we got into it a little bit last week, but you said you also have touched or have some stuff to talk about with the Animal Well. So we need a perspective. You and Michael need to talk because y'all have played it and I have not. So
okay, so no, I have not played Animal Well. I want to be clear about this. I don't want to say
I
up front
misunderstood.
that I've played Animal Well. No. But I saw Animal Well in the what was that review of the upcoming games or whatever that was coming out, and then it just released like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And my first thought on it was, gosh, that looks like a Steam Deck game. And then Michael said he was going to play it, and I wanted to see if he was going to play it on a Steam Deck.
I absolutely have been. Yep.
So, Michael, you don't own an Xbox Elite controller.
I do not.
You might want to borrow mine and tell me, because I have some questions. Are you using the sticks or the D-pad to play that game?
Ooh, what am I using? I feel like I've used them both. I think I tried them both out. I think I'm using the stick more though, because it gives you a little more precise diagonal control.
Laying that game up against, let's say, a Celeste style platformer where you really have to move, does it feel like the same type of game where there's very little tolerance for making jumps, etc.?
No, there is a little more freedom for you to not have to be quite so pixel perfect like there is in Celeste. Even when it gets harder.
Okay.
There are sections that definitely require you to be precise with your jumps,
right.
Because you're trying to beat the cycle in a room, and so if you bonk a wall with one of your jumps, you're not going to make the cycle, and you're going to have to start the room over. But you don't have to be, it's not 18 frame per or pixel perfect jumps in a row like Celeste.
Right. Where it was like bounce that wall, bounce this wall, bounce in front of the spikes, jump the thing.
Yeah, it's never that punishing.
Celeste is in the grand tradition of games like Super Meat Boy, where speaking of other boomer games,
sure, yeah,
where
very Super Meat Boy,
where it is a like masochistic level of like hard, difficult platforming with obstacles and things that will kill you and stuff like that. And I didn't get that impression from what Michael was talking about.
No, it never, at least as far as I've seen so far, it never gets that difficult.
So that was my first question, because it looks like a vibe game, almost like a what's that one that everybody talks about, the Undertale style. Like that's a vibe game, even though there's a lot of control need for that, right, in that game, but still the look of it. And so I couldn't tell if it was a game that I would want to play on a Steam Deck or even a Switch, right? A Switch where control might not be as tight as it would be on an Xbox Elite controller. Because now that you've played, then really Animal Well is a way for me to talk about you playing on your Steam Deck. I mean, how many hours have you talked? Are we talking about here at this point?
I think I've put in about 4 at this point.
How do you feel about the control layout on the Steam Deck? Where the buttons are, where those capacitive sensors are compared to your palms, how high the buttons are on the controller compared to other controllers, how high the stick is, and your grip, where the triggers are. How do you feel ergonomically about that controller?
I think probably the best answer that I can give you is that it hasn't really given me cause to think about it too much.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that I was busy learning, like any platformer. I was busy at the very beginning, sort of learning the physics of like, okay, this length button press means I jump this high. But I didn't ever feel like I was learning both the game and the Steam Deck controls at the same time. I only ever felt like I was learning the game.
Okay. 2 games that I've played so far on the Steam Deck, not all games, but 2 games that I've played so far on the Steam Deck. A lot of things seems like there's either delay or not enough sensitivity available on the Steam Deck stick. Where, like Vampire Survivors, I feel like I'm not getting the movement response that I'm asking for. And that might just be Vampire Survivors. And Dungeon Encounters. Dungeon Encounters is another one where it might just be Dungeon Encounters, where it's meant to be more of a, you're just sort of moving one direction and they didn't really think about quick reaction from the stick. So I was reticent to pick up Animal Well on the Steam Deck versus maybe, I don't know, put it on the Switch or make sure that I play it on the PC with my Elite controller. Would you play other platformers on there now that you've tried this one out?
I think I would. Yeah. I would give other ones a try, especially, given your findings, to see how they compare.
Sure.
To see, do other ones play the same way? And especially, I think I'd be interested to. So, Animal Well is so new that I could believe that the devs took some time to try it out on a Steam Deck to see how it played versus older games that were developed before Steam Deck was a thing. And see
1,000%. That's a great idea.
How they compare to each other, right? In terms of their responsiveness playing on the Steam Deck, and if what they're asking you to do with your fingers and the controls still feels, comfortable and natural on the Steam Deck, or if they assumed that you would be either playing with a controller on your PC or you'd be, mouse and keyboarding it depending on the game.
Yeah.
Though the only downside to that argument is that Vampire Survivors absolutely definitely tested with the Steam Deck. So,
and I don't know, man. Vampire Survivors to me feels sluggish on a Steam Deck.
I mean, are you just playing an underleveled character with less movement speed? That's also a thing in that game, right?
No, I'm talking about how it feels when you move the stick and you've got it all the way pinned to the side and you feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's responding as fast as it should before I'm moving. Like I'm used to that Elite thing where it's like I barely moved it and it responded,
I hear you.
Yeah. So I will say this, Andy, my one complaint that I do have a little bit playing it on the Steam Deck is I talked about the pixelated nature of the graphics last week with JJ, and that is true in the map as well. And I find the map to be a little bit difficult to see things on the Steam Deck. I wish there are 2 levels of zoom on the map. You can zoom out and then you can zoom in closer for a better view. But the size of it on the Steam Deck, I think, still leaves maybe one more level of zoom in to be desired.
Oh, because the screen's too small.
Because the screen is too small.
Interesting. And you have a first gen Steam Deck, and so you would have the lower pixel density to try and solve that problem.
Yes.
Interesting. Because then once you get to higher pixel density, that gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, so I'd be interested. I at some point I want to fire it up on my PC and just to open the map and see if it's easier to read, because some of this was the dev's choice in the size, the size pixels that they use to mark things like particular doors. And I want to see if does it still just feel too small when I'm looking at it on the computer screen, or is it just an artifact of being on the Steam Deck?
I would 1,000% be willing to lend you my backup Xbox Elite controller in order for you to, when you try it on your PC, also try it with an Elite controller and see what you think the difference is there.
Yeah, I'd give it a shot.
Not to try and downgrade the Steam Deck. I love my Steam Deck.
No, like
so much so that I
complaints about it otherwise.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't mean to derail you too much from talking about Animal Well, though. I don't know how it's been going the last couple hours.
It has been good. I've gotten to a point where um, I have a lot of the map opened up. You know, at least as much as I can tell. I can tell that there's still a fair bit for me to explore, and a lot of tools to do some exploring. And it's kind of when I sat down with it most recently, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, do I want to run all the way across to that part of the map to explore? I know there's stuff that I want to see.
Well, by next GDQ, you'll be able to know how to get to that part of the map without running all the way back.
Yeah. I'm sure that there are shortcuts that I've unlocked some shortcuts, but I'm sure that there are more.
It occurs to me also, is still not having played this game, that some of the issues with the map may just be because of the like minimal aesthetic, right? It's just like they chose to keep the map extra minimal, and instead of making the door big and obvious, it's this tiny little thing. So
they definitely did. They definitely chose the map is kind of a piece with the rest of the aesthetic, and it is there to help you sort of know where you are and where you want to go. But it, like much of the other game, doesn't really tell you a whole lot more. They made the conscious decision that they didn't want to give you a map that was cluttered up with 15 different kinds of icons that they chose. They gave you the stamps, and you can put stamps on it as you see fit. But they weren't going to dictate to you, every little thing.
yeah. Well, Andy made the layup transition, so I'll take the off ramp here, and we'll talk that GDQ is running now, right?
Currently,
it is day 2
live.
Anyone got any runs that they have checked out or are interested in checking out? I haven't looked at the whole schedule yet.
This GBA Metroid Fusion run that's going on right now.
Ooh,
I loved this game. But I caught some Celeste just before we started here. There was another custom level pack run for Celeste, which is some of the most satisfying. Talking about platforming, some of the most satisfying platforming you can see is a good Celeste runner running some just brutal levels.
It looks like basically Kaizo when you see it, but like polished and clean and not old graphics.
Yeah, it does.
Speaking of Kaizo, people should check out later in the week. There's a Grand Pooh World 3 run. I think they're going to have both Grand Pooh Bear, who's the hack is notionally for, and the guy who created the hack on the couch. So,
is that the one that's the 3-person relay race or 4-person relay race?
I have no idea.
Okay, because I saw Super Mario World's getting run, so I assume that's the same one. And,
yeah, I think they have it named as Grand Pooh World 3 on the schedule, as opposed to Super Mario World.
So on the schedule is also Super Mario World Kaizo Relay Race.
Yeah, so that must be something different. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that looks like it'll be interesting. I wish it weren't at 11 o'clock, but there's like a Halo 2 or 3
Halo 2 run
co-op.
Halo 2 run happened earlier. I don't think that's what this is, though. That's a co-op, sounds like. So it must be on again.
Yeah, there's like a co-op legendary craziness with 4 players, which sounds fun.
Yeah, it could be cool.
I don't know. I didn't get to catch a lot of it, but the big surprise bonus game was Balatro.
Yeah, bonus game number 1 today.
So I did watch this run just before we started this podcast.
Okay, so how do you make... They were just running decks? They were just like, what's a speed run, right?
So the category was 3 deck skipless. So he had to win runs with 3 different decks, it sounds like.
The his choice or pre-selected?
Unclear.
Okay.
It didn't list the decks in the category, so maybe it's your choice, but the decks that he chose were Plasma, Checkered, which is only hearts and spades, I think.
Uh-huh.
And then Abandoned, which is no face cards.
Interesting. I would have gone with the first 2 and then gone with the one that gives you money at the beginning of the game.
So according to them, for speedrunning, those are the 3 best. And they start with plasma not because it is the easiest, but because it is actually the hardest, and the potential for screwing plasma up is very high if you don't get certain good jokers, according to them.
You need chip advancing jokers? Like,
yeah, and you need them early because apparently it becomes very difficult, like even at the base stakes to like get up. Because again, they're speed running. They're just like, they don't want to sit and re-roll. They don't want to think about anything. They just want to pick stuff and go, right?
So it's a race to finish those 3 decks. It's not a race. It's not you get 3 chances, because you could have 20 chances to finish the 3 decks.
And in fact, he failed the initial plasma run a couple times, 2 or 3 times. Yeah. Because also, as they talked about during the run, there are some bosses that if they see the boss on the run and they don't get away to re-roll it, they just quit the run and start over because they have no chance. Right. Oh. It's like there's I forget which one it is. One of them, it's like they said there's a specific boss that's really hard in plasma runs because the jokers they usually pick get completely negated by that boss. And if they just run into it, they just scoop.
Oh, okay.
So it was a cool run. They talked about some strategy stuff. Here's how the kinds of stuff they're looking for. Apparently, Stuntman is their favorite Joker across.
Stuntman
all the decks
is the best Joker in the game, no question.
And for the folks out there, what does Stuntman do, Andy?
It adds 250 chips, bam, right away, and then it takes away 2 cards from your hand.
Right.
But
who cares? 250 chips.
every 50 chips is basically times 5 for Molt. Right? If you think about it that way, right?
I don't know how that equivalency works out, but it definitely
I guess maybe 50 chips or 100 chips. It might be 100 chips that's 5 times Molt. Essentially adds tons of Molt right off the bat. But if you get it early enough, the thing you have at the beginning of the game is chips. You don't have Molt. And especially running a plasma deck or other decks that don't have immediate ways to create synergies, Stuntman will get you about halfway through the game almost on its own. And if you pull like one of 3 other jokers, you can make 2 Stuntmen. And then you start racking up high card. Racking up high card, and high card wins you the game. You don't need to play any cards, so it doesn't matter that your hand is 1 card.
Right. They also were saying that, again, because they're trying to speed run, a lot of the thing is just like scanning for the best stuff. If you don't see it, just move on if you still can win, right? Like, so, they're still speed running stuff. However, they did explain what is up with Gros Michel and Cavendish.
About why they're good or not good?
No, what they mean.
Oh,
I never knew this.
Cavendish is a banana.
Yes, but do you know what a Gros Michel is?
No, I didn't.
Also a banana. Okay. So, Gros Michel is a type of banana that has now
Cavendish
gone extinct and been replaced by Cavendish.
Cavendish, yeah.
Oh,
so Cavendish bananas.
Okay.
Cavendish bananas came into being because transporting bananas from South America to England, they would rot.
Right.
So Cavendish bananas were developed to be able to transport bananas from South America to England.
As a result of this, Gros Michel bananas now are extinct, and they taste a little different, which is why the person who was talking about this said that banana-flavored candy doesn't taste like a modern banana. It's because they tasted like these older Gros Michel bananas, not like, your modern Cavendish bananas.
That's cool.
That's interesting.
Interesting little factoid there. So learned that cool. Today during the Balatro run. That guy is just way better at Balatro than me. He's just
here's the thing. That guy has played thousands of hours more Balatro than both of us combined.
I'm confident of that, yeah.
And I have played 112 hours of Balatro.
Yeah. He's just like snapping off, like he's just like in a half a glance, he just snaps off a poker hand, that it would have taken me a minute to like recognize, oh yeah, there's a 2-pair here. It's just no. He's like, bam, played.
I thought I was going to I thought I was going to be able to watch it, so I had it on in the background while I was trying to do other things, and then I ended up watching it. But I was walking by it one time, and I heard the couch say this, and I thought it was very funny. And it was, you could have stunted on him by playing a flush 5. But the guy had played something else because it was technically better.
Yeah. Yeah. They had, I think during one of their runs, they had like a 2-pair thing. And he's like, oh, you could have played a flush 5 there. And the guy's like, but I get more. It's like, you get more points for the 2-pair or something.
That's the guy I want to ask, like, all right, man, I quit at 112 hours trying to finish the last challenge run. I just gave up. The Jokerless challenge run is just impossible. Like, I have 3 uncompleted achievements for that game, and one of them is because of Jokerless runs. I don't know how to do it.
I think what they are going to tell you is that all the speedrunners use a completely unlocked Joker and thing client.
Are unlocked, buddy.
I'm telling you that they may just do the unlock and unlock all of them and not know how to unlock them. Like, they don't know how to help you. They just use the thing that unlocks all the Jokers.
No, so the last challenge in the game, challenge run, is Jokerless. You are not allowed to use Jokers at all.
Okay. That seems...
I can't beat it.
It seems very difficult.
I cannot beat it. I put probably 22 hours. I was at like 90 something hours with the rest of the game complete.
Again, I don't know that the speedrunners are completing these categories, so they might not be the ones to help you with that necessarily, you know.
They might be smarter than me, using their 22 hours to learn how to speedrun 3 decks. I could probably speedrun 3 decks.
They're also all playing on the white stake, so it's like not that tough to beat necessarily.
White stake is, let me tell you, buddy, if you want to get good at this game, play those challenge runs, and then you go back to white stake, you're like, this is a joke.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well,
anyway, I guess the news there for you after the GDQ news is I officially quit Balatro.
Congratulations.
According to your input, yeah.
This is the all of us standing around clapping for you at the end of Evangelion right here.
Thank
you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'll just say, Andy, Animal Wells on sale.
I noticed that, yeah. It's calling towards me in a general direction. However, I have a list, and there's a few things on it that I really want to do. And so I may or may not pull the trigger. I even started playing on this camping trip where I had no service. I finally went back to the Konami nonograms on my phone.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah. So, stuff like that. I couldn't log into Octopath, man. I had no cell service.
I still haven't completed that pixel puzzle collection. I still have it. I go on there every couple days.
I mean, there's over 500 puzzles in there. You're okay. You take your time.
Well, I've done all the base puzzles. I'm doing the second level of them where you can't use the red X's, right? So
yeah, that's a lot slower.
It's brutal.
We've talked about this in the past that I don't do that, and so I was like, "There's another level where they make you not do that."
Yeah, it's brutal. It's because it's the same thing, right? The red X's are just cosmetic. You just have to know where they are, and it's way worse not being able to put it on there.
Sure, yeah, especially on something the size of your phone.
Yeah,
right.
They're rough. The big ones
talk
are
about
tough.
Zoom problems, right, Michael?
Yeah, seriously.
Where do I want to go with Zoom problems? All right, we can talk about F1.
Zoom, yeah, they did have some Zoom problems at the end of that race.
They had some Zoom problems. All right, we'll just cut around the chase here. There was a big incident at the end of the race. What do you think? What did you make of it, Michael and Andy? I guess Michael, if you saw it, did you hear anything?
I did not hear about it, so you'll have to.
Okay, so Michael, while we're doing this, just look up Verstappen. Okay, spoilers for people that didn't finish the race yesterday. Just warning you now. You just Google
all over social media
a 30-second clip of Verstappen Norris. You'll find it while we do it.
F1's official YouTube has a clip too.
Yeah. What did I make of it? They let them go hard racing for a couple laps, which was nice to see that they let them go hard racing instead of capitulating to the he moved.
Which Lando was whining on the intercom, but yeah, definitely they didn't do anything about it.
I could not believe I think my main takeaway. Here's my main takeaway. You want it?
Yeah.
I cannot believe the skill level involved for these two to be running a car at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Less than a second from each other, tenths of a second within inches of each other, and to be constantly whining over the microphone the entire time. Literally open mic to their teams, both of them, like it's a freaking video game, man.
I think
I couldn't believe that part of it. I was like, holy cow. They are just talking the whole time while they are almost slapping their cars into each other. And then that came out of my mouth, and then they slapped their cars into each other.
Yeah.
The analogous skill, I think, is people that I've seen like play insanely difficult video games on stream while reading the chat and talking to the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, they're like fighting the last boss in Elden Ring and hitless, or
they're dodge rolling while you're like,
or they're playing like some insane Kaizo Mario hack and like performing insane jumps and stuff.
Well, it's
meanwhile, they're like, oh yeah, thank you for the sub. Oh hey, dude, how you doing? Yeah, it was a cool thing last night. Meanwhile, he just like completed 3 impossible jumps that you never could do.
Michael, I'm going to cut you off because I know where you're going with that. You were about to say it's muscle memory, right?
Well, it's just like it's animal brain at that point, right? It's below the level of regular thought.
So like the version of this that I often see is people doing like backwards rolls in Legend of Zelda while they've memorized how many times they hit what button and what angle to do it at, right?
Yeah.
And like that I get. But physically driving a car
it's another level.
Is like another level of this thing entirely.
Yeah, the higher order of animal brain that requires your whole body to participate in it. Meanwhile, your upper brain is still complaining on the microphone about the guy who cut you off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've done this. I know you've done this. Have you ever left a place and like not thought about it and then showed up at your house and you're just like, oh,
how did I get here?
Did I just time travel? Like,
yes.
One of those where you space just a little bit and then your body autopilots the car somewhere.
I mean, after work in particular.
Well, to put a point on why there are laws about holding your phone and stuff, I have not been holding my phone. I have been on a phone call over the hands-free system in my car, had a difficult conversation about work or with family or whatever for 30 minutes on my drive home, and then been like, holy heck, how did I get here?
Right.
Because I was wrapped up in my phone call the whole time.
So the only thing I can think of is that this is some kind of analogous skill for an F1 driver, except they're on, like the impossible level challenge, and we're down here at the the one for babies.
So they ended up. Did you watch that video?
I did. Yeah.
Find one. Yeah. So who do you think's at fault, Michael? Who do you think they rung up for that one?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to go with Verstappen.
That's who they rung up for that one for 10 seconds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The real question, Andy, do you think it was deserved?
His 10-second penalty?
Yeah. Do you think they got the right guy here?
I think Lando Norris did not deserve a penalty, if that's what you're saying.
Yes, because I believe Lando got a 5-second also.
Oh, he did?
I believe
he
that's
got
also
true. He got a 5 for track limits.
Oh, was that earlier? Okay. I saw the 5-second thing pop up and I thought it was for that. But okay.
He got his 5-second for leaving the track. He had been warned about track limits the entire time they were hard racing.
I see. So, and then he left the track again as part of the collision.
So he during the race, he actually during that back and forth, he crossed outside the track, gained an advantage, and gave it back, and they still penalized him for 5 seconds for leaving the track. For track limits, because
if they tell you not to leave the track and you leave the track, right? Don't do it, right?
The thing that bothers me a little bit about it, I mean, all those people were getting pit violations all race. I mean, there were probably 20 of them.
Yeah.
Here's what bothers me. I don't think I'm not bothered by Verstappen getting a penalty. It's very likely that he didn't follow the racing line, even if he didn't turn into Norris.
Yeah, the thing I was going to say,
and didn't turn when he should have, and caused the collision. Probably
he kind of closed the door on him, right? Like if Loris was coming around the outside and he knew that, he sort of drifted over onto that edge of the track, basically not, either forcing Norris to stomp the brakes or go off the track.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing to say is like they'd been racing hard for multiple laps.
Yeah.
I don't think this was any harder than he had been racing Norris up to this point.
Right.
Norris was just diving harder this time.
Right. Yes. So that's literally what I was going to get to was Norris was already slightly out of control driving. He was already at track limits trying to get around Verstappen.
Yeah. Yeah. He was getting desperate, right? That's what it felt like.
Right. And so he was complaining that Verstappen was making illegal moves the entire time, which I didn't see them the entire time, but they did call them. The announcers did call one or two of them and say, it's kind of dicey. He kind of looks like he double moved there. And they're better at spotting that stuff than me. I mean,
right.
I can't say that I know all the things that these drivers have conceded upon to be proper moves and unsafe moves and moves you're not supposed to expect because they're not supposed to do them. There's a written and even unwritten code about when you're supposed to move your car and where. Yeah. And what the racing lines are, all these things that
these are things, again, all the drivers know, and we, the lay viewer, may not, right?
But from a lay viewer's perspective, they let them race real hard. They let Norris get pretty out of control. They let Verstappen, if he was, which it sounds like he was, move around the track quite a bit in order to create a race at the front.
Yeah.
And then reacted to it late when, oops, we went too far.
Yeah.
Here.
I think the other thing is that, and I saw this on social media, so it's not like I came up with this, but there's a bunch of clips now comparing the move that Verstappen did on Norris that caused the collision.
Let me guess. With Hamilton?
I didn't see one with him, but it's very possible. Okay. There was a move that Sainz did on Verstappen
so there
a previous year.
And then they talked about one that happened during the sprint. They talked about during the broadcast. They're like, well, that move happened during the sprint. So they didn't say anything then.
Right. And so a lot of people were like, I think the drivers saw, like that this move has been allowed before and wasn't penalized. And so they're like, this move is allowed. I can do this. I can go for it. Right.
Which might be why they shut the door so hard on people messing up in the pit lane. I don't know.
The pit lane thing is one of those, like, there are so many question mark calls, right? Where it's a judgment thing. Like all this racing hard stuff is kind of a judgment thing. Did he leave you space? A little bit of judgment. The pit lane thing is like black and white. The number is this number. If you exceed the number, penalty, right?
The white line is the white line. If you touch the white line, penalty.
You're over. Right. And so the judges are just like, well, I can't fix this judgment call over here. You cross the white line, penalty.
Well, even the pit lane has nuanced calls, right? Like Norris again on the radio being like, "Oh, that was an unsafe release."
Yeah, I mean and they do say it. That like when those cars pull out in front of each other, sometimes they are very close, and teams have been penalized for doing stuff like that before. So it's not out of the range of possibility that a driver would say something like that, to try and get the person in front of them penalized a little bit.
Yeah. So that's the thing, Michael. Imagine the cops were listening to everybody in their car.
No.
Forget the
You're going with the wrong analogy. You're going with the wrong analogy,
okay.
Andrew. The analogy is the soccer referees.
Oh,
I was going to say basketball, right? This is like the basketball players who are constantly chirping at the refs about, oh, did you see what he did?
Well, no. But see, imagine that the coaches of the soccer team had an earbud, had a microphone, and the referees were monitoring the microphones the entire time.
Okay.
So all the communications are going through to the FIA office at the same time that they're making calls on the thing. So every bit of radio traffic is also a little bit of a gamble to try and get the FIA to penalize people.
Or
not to, right? Like they sometimes communicate with the pit in code about things that are wrong with the car, so they don't get black flagged.
drivers and teams will make calls on the radio to try to encourage or discourage behavior of both the FIA and their own drivers, but not in plain language, right? It'll be like, oh, we saw he impeded you there. Just so you know, he should give you the place back. And the driver's like, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that happened for sure. They should definitely give me the place back.
Yeah.
Or they're always, they talk about strategy sometimes. They'll be like, plan A or plan B +6 or whatever, like stuff like that. But then, Andrew is right. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, your car is fine, so definitely make it around. But, we will want to pit for this lap. Meanwhile, the back of their car is falling off, right? Like,
or like in football, Michael, where it's like, if the coaches were directly into the head referee or whatever, and it's like, yeah, I know, Travis, I know he's holding you. I know he's holding you every single play on your right arm. I know, I understand. Just they'll see it.
Put that bug in his ear, yeah.
Right, and then Travis, is like, yeah, see, and puts his hands, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, it is a bit of that kind of a situation. And to be fair, unlike in the past where the coaches could talk directly to the FIA, they have now outlawed that finally, which was a huge talking point during the that one contested.
We went racing,
end, right?
We went racing, Toto.
Michael, no, this is not right.
Did you hear Toto on the radio at the end of the race?
George, you can win this. Shut up, I'm trying to drive.
He's literally Michael, so you have the crash, right? The crash is the first place and second place.
Right.
The third place driver, I have to
Who's like 15 seconds behind or something.
Okay,
he wasn't close.
Yeah, so there's backstory to this. First of all, my new nickname for him is Floppy Hands, thanks to my brother-in-law. So shout out to that one. And he does drive like he has floppy hands. Michael, during the last race that we talked about, the Canadian Grand Prix, when it was raining,
yeah,
he drove his own race. He was in like 6th place, right? And he was like 45 seconds behind the next car. And just sort of driving his own speed on a Sunday afternoon. Sure, everyone was backed up behind him. He just had good enough tires to make it around the rest of the race without changing, so he wasn't really pushing very hard, but driving just well enough that no one could pass him. It was like watching a guy in like a 1970s Thunderbird out for a Sunday, top-down drive along the coast.
Park it in the middle between both lanes so no one can pass, right?
Right.
Nice.
Same thing this race, kind of, but in this time he was in 3rd place. And there were enough cars that what they really need to do is start pointing where cars are at between other cars. Because this race, for some reason, all the cars got stacked up together. Half the track was empty.
Oh, you know what that is, or maybe you don't. What's happening there is there's a bunch of cars that have been lapped.
Yeah.
Right. This is a super short circuit. It's only like a minute 12 or a minute 13 for a lap.
Right.
Okay. And so what's happening
minute 7 was the record.
Okay. Yeah. So not very long for a lap. And so it's, by the end of the race, they do 70 something laps. The first person has lapped like half the field. But because there are not many places that you can pass another car on this track without losing a bunch of time, it's very difficult. Like you have to wait a bunch behind slower cars in order to pass. And even though they get shown the blue flag or whatever, which means like, hey, they're allowed to overtake you for free, like you still lose a bunch of time in that process. And some people are better at this stuff than others, right? And so you just get big gaps that open up as they pass back markers.
So you got Floppy Hands in 3rd, driving his own race again behind a lapped car, using it to just sort of fend people off, passing it when he needed to so he could, maintain 3rd place. But their plan was just sort of like, well, we're going to drive our own race and maintain 3rd place and everyone just be calm. We're just going to relax. We're going to take a podium here. Nobody panic. Just drive our own race. And so, over time, he's now 15 seconds behind. And then those two collide into each other. And it's just like, okay, no one panic. Nobody panic, but we're now in the lead.
It's that Michael Scott clip. Nobody panic, and he's the only one panicking.
It's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So the team principal gets on the radio. We can win. We can win this. And the response from the driver is, "Shut up! I'm driving the car."
And there are like, this is one of those things which, again, like Toto is not sitting on the pit wall anymore. So,
No,
maybe that's part of it. But,
yeah.
There are times where drivers will tell their race engineers and people like, don't talk to me in these turns. I'm busy, like, thinking about driving the car or whatever. And I do wonder if it's like one of the times Toto like blurts onto the microphone. He's like,
we
can win, George,
time,
in like
JJ.
a super important corner or something, right?
So he got on the radio afterwards and after the race was like, "I'm so sorry for talking to you while you were braking." I was like, "Toto, come on, man. Don't apologize. Just say good race."
Yeah, I know, right? Don't that's one of those things you talk about after he gets out of the car in person.
Yeah.
Don't put that on the mic.
Toto, come on.
But the other upshot of all this, Andy, big points haul for your boys in Haas.
I noticed, yeah. Even after K-Mag told them their plan was literally cursed out their plan on the radio.
Yeah. It worked, right?
Yeah. Well, did it work or did they go racing and it ended up working?
Nico was in 7th before Lando crashed out of the race, so it was working to some degree.
No,
but then
early in the race, they're in like early in the race, they're in 10th and 11th place. And Haas gets on the radio and they're like, "Okay, everyone." No, they specifically called Kevin and they're like, "Okay, Kevin, you gotta manage your tires, buddy." And he's like, "Is Nico managing his tires?" And he's like, "Well, we have a team plan." He's like, "This is BS. I'm not going to do that." And he hangs up the radio.
And then he proceeds to race Nico.
And the announcers follow them the rest of the race and like they're still racing. And sure enough, they move up the field and they don't worry about their tires at all.
It's almost like, their plan to like protect Nico or whatever was dumb. And if they had let them just race together, they would have both pulled each other forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's protect Nico so he can go to Sauber next year.
Right. Like, what is this,
Yeah. Why worry about it?
Yeah. Maybe he has some kind of clause in his contract. He gets preferential treatment or something. Who knows? That is a thing that some drivers have in their contracts.
Well, yeah, George Russell's about to have it, which is why Toto's licking his boots.
I think Toto has no choice but to be nice to him now because he's going to have nobody.
I'm being mean to Toto. He's probably a nice guy.
Yeah, who knows, right? He's a multi-millionaire like all these people, so you can never be sure.
Sure.
All right. We don't have too much time left here. Quick hits for me. I've still been playing that Elden Ring. I did get into the DLC this week, so I've been checking that out. Hey, that DLC is pretty tough. Yeah. I got my Skibbity tree level up or whatever. That's been it's been good fun, actually. I mean, like getting in there and remembering, like, my character is like level 140 or whatever, so the base game is now starting to like not become that difficult anymore. And then you get in there and like the first monster kills me. It's like, oh, this is how we're playing. Okay.
Yeah, they tuned it a little bit for those players who have put in the time in the base game, huh?
Yeah, they did an interesting thing, right? It's a completely alternate progression system in there. So it kind of doesn't matter what your stats are when you come in until you start engaging with the new leveling system there. You could be level 150 or you could be level 10. It's kind of like not Paragon all the way relevant. System. Yeah. That's a good example too. Yeah, it's not always the look. The person at level 150 is going to have like bonuses the level 10 person doesn't have, but really the thing that like makes you more powerful in there is that new system they added. So the Scadu tree stuff.
Yeah, I was reading a bit about that today, and it sounded like they changed the scaling curve on that after it was introduced.
Yeah, it's unclear to me what exactly that change was. I'm playing on the latest version, so I don't know how that's affected me. But they made it sound like the end point stays the same. You just maybe ramp up. You ramp quicker at the beginning.
Faster is what I was reading. So the curve now has a steeper trajectory at the start, and then progressive upgrades benefit you less and less comparatively.
Yeah, and you still sort of end at the same place, so maybe it's less linear and a little steeper earlier or something. But yeah, it's been cool. Beating a couple bosses, kind of taking my time exploring, just enjoying some good old Elden Ring again, so that's been fun. Andy, you did say you guys have started watching Shogun.
I did say that, but we're not super far into it, so I know a good amount, but not all of what happens in the book because I have twice, I think I've said, tried to read it, and twice, sometime in the middle when they're talking about what the foreign minister of Japan is trying to negotiate with the this and the that, I fell off the book twice. And then I watched some of that 1970s miniseries and it felt the same. This does not feel the same so far.
Okay. Yeah, give us some initial impressions.
My initial impression is they immediately made you feel the tension at what's the I'm trying to think of the proper term. The stakes in Japan and how high they were at this point in time do not become clear immediately in the book.
So you have a little more insight to the like courtly stuff that's going on right off the bat.
The idea that you're exploring the world through the eyes of the Englishman, much like the notes that the book is based on. It's based on a real encounter of a washed-up Englishman on the shores of Japan, who, as far as I recall, was not a privateer. However, James Clavell classed it up quite a bit and, upped the intrigue, etc., in order to make a novel. But, the idea that it's the white experience of a foreign land kind of thing still was present in the book versus this where it's like, yo, welcome to Japan. The focus here is Japan.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Was very refreshing to start off with. Instead of, okay, you're a stranger here. Japan's a weird country. No, here, look, we're gonna throw around all the Japanese words. The people are gonna speak Japanese, and the people who came here onto this island are the ones that you just get used to it, man.
Yeah.
That was very cool.
You're gonna be reminded at every opportunity that he is the barbarian and they are the civilized ones.
Yeah, I don't know that I need that, especially although I did laugh that the title of the first one was Anjin.
Mm-hmm. My takeaway from that very first episode is, man, he does sure swear a lot.
I don't know if he's doing a voice or if his voice naturally sounds that way, but if it does, I'm very jealous of his grumbly English accent that can just sort of sound however he wants it to.
This is definitely the voice he uses for the rest of the show, I think. So
yeah, it doesn't change much from what he presents you in that first episode.
All right, well, good for him.
So
whatever the accent or timbre is, he's just doing it. So
it's a thing. It definitely sets him apart from everyone else.
Andy? Do you like the choice that they made with the languages? Because we had talked about that in the run up to the show coming out.
So I had to explain to my wife that they were speaking Portuguese
in fiction or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Which was weird in fiction to be speaking Portuguese, but it sounds like English, and then also be speaking Japanese, but speaking in Japanese. But I like it. Is that a weird thing to say?
No, I think that's kind of where I came down also. It's like, oh, I get it. Okay, this is their way of like bringing the English viewing audience in, right? Because in theory, there should be no English spoken here except by him.
Him and his crew, right?
Well, yeah, him and his crew would speak English. But, Hiroyuki Sanada speaks perfect English. It's not like...
And I'm sure many of the other casts do as well, right? But
I don't know where the rest... I don't know most of the rest of the cast.
It's a style choice, right?
Yeah. I don't know most of the rest of the cast, but the idea that it's in Japan and we're going to speak Japanese and it doesn't matter what the foreign language is kind of a cool choice.
It's an inversion of the norm, right? Like the way
Yeah.
that Asian languages are frequently treated in Western cinema.
But in Western cinema, I feel like it's more common to introduce that they're speaking another language and then gloss over it and turn it into English somehow.
That's true. That does happen a lot.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting, like, Hiroyuki Sanada is also a producer on this show.
Oh,
right?
Here's a good example, right? That Last Samurai movie. 1,000% that's what happens in that movie, right? And that is probably one of the most commonly referenced movies when it comes to feudal 16 to 1900s Japan. Not feudal, I guess, by the 1860s or whenever that movie takes place, right? But yeah, they start off in, the foreign language of the Japanese, and now Tom Cruise understands. So we're going to not speak Japanese anymore. I was like, oh, man. But I liked when he learned that chopsticks were hashi.
I thought it was good. I mean, like, I'm very curious to hear your opinions as you go through it. So we'll have to.
So I'll be disappointed if they don't stick with it as our Englishman learns Japanese.
Well, Michael, I'm sure we can agree we will not spoil anything for him.
Yes. Yeah, we will not say anything more about that so as not to spoil what they do eventually decide to do.
I think my largest desire is so many people loved it. I'm sure it's not true anymore. My largest desire is to see whether it mires itself in politics, Game of Thrones style / original novel style, where it's like, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I get it. Like, this is a big part of Japanese history happening right now. But can we make it a little more jazzed up for TV?
Well, you will have to watch and then report back to this podcast. And if other folks want to report back to this podcast, Michael, where can they do that?
They can shoot us an email to podcast@weweregamers.com. Preferably in English, unless Andy wants to brush up on his Japanese and then fire away.
I mean, it's been a couple of years, but I'm also trying to pre-plan a few years ahead when I'm going to take the kids. So I should probably start practicing again.
We could attempt Google Translate on your stuff, though. You might not like the results, though, folks. So
Google does pretty well with that Game 8 site. I wouldn't be surprised.
They do.
But also, we are on YouTube, right? youtube.com/@weweregamers. Check us out on there, please.